Bam. Okay, I think we're actually getting after this thing. All right, let's do this. Go ahead.
I feel like we need a new intro wallpaper.
Yeah, it's probably time. Yeah, it's probably time.
We really need live.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Yeah, we good. All right, so. Oh my goodness! So we're doing this yet again. Here we are. It is June 2019.
26.
Yep.
Yeah, June 26th. That's right. That's right. Real quick before we get going, doing the as I always do, audio, video, any of that kind of stuff. Any issues? There's no video coming through. Audio and video, no video. For those of you saying there's no video, refresh your browser real quick. And if you're having lag issues, click the little sprocket and flip low latency off. Fingers crossed. Hopefully this gets everybody back up and running appropriately. I love this. There's always something. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so welcome to the June Webcast. Happy to be here. Happy to have all of you out there tuning in here with us. Yes, see, low latency fixed it. Perfect. Good to hear. So we have a sorted, awesome cast of characters here with us today from the Edge dev team. Super excited about this. I know we talked about this, back in April?
Yeah, I think the last time we were on.
Yeah, we had you here briefly at the end of the April episode.
Yeah, and then we teased the build as well.
Yes, we got to talk for it was 3-4 minutes.
Yeah,
the build amongst the myriad of people that I just kind of shuffled through that day. Yes, June Webcast brought to you by Mountain Dew. The unofficial sponsor. I'm totally kidding. They're not sponsoring us. I just like it. This is going to get me in trouble.
You're so in trouble.
But, we talked about having y'all come in and do an entire webcast about this new fancy, awesome browser that you've actually broken me off of my old browser usage. Like, you have a convert.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
I just got to say, well done. But for everybody out there who's interested in trying this, if you haven't, we will talk about where to get it, how to get it, what it's going to do for your life, how it's awesome, how it's changed over the course of the few months that it has been out, all kinds of new features and stuff that we get to talk about. We'll talk about the dev version, the Canary version. We'll talk about submitting feedback on anything that you find or want to suggest in relation to the browser.
And we may exceed the bounds of an hour and a half.
Yeah, because the list that was put together, I will say, was impressively long. So we've got a lot to talk about today. So without me rambling on for,
Oh boy, you're setting expectations too high here.
I know, setting the bar. I am setting the bar.
I don't know if we can live up to this.
Let's just do roundtable. Let's make introductions, right? I'm Jason, North Face Hiker on Twitter. You know me, so I'll skip me. The real stars of the show. I'll start with you, Wayne.
Yeah, thanks. I'm William Devereaux. I'm a PM on the Edge team.
I'm Candace. I'm a PM on the Edge team.
I'm Sean. I'm the CM for the Edge team.
What is a CM?
Community manager, so I'm the guy that's on Twitter, Reddit, anywhere you're talking to us. I'm seeing almost all of it. As much as I can. There's a lot of you. So.
The face behind the Edge Dev Twitter account.
Really? Oh. So you're the first. See, what's funny is there's so many Twitter handles of Microsoft employees, and when it's the team-related ones, I don't always know who's behind it, and I literally just found out who's behind this Edge Dev handle. So now you all know as well.
Hey, I'm Kofi Opoku. I'm also a PM on the Edge team.
I'm Jen. I don't work on Edge. Sir, I help Edge with some stuff that they need the Windows shell to do. Yeah, it's true. I guess I'm not going to go into my usual spiel because we have so much content. So, Vegas, shall we?
Joe, you gonna say hi?
Hello.
You gonna come out from behind the scenes?
The man behind the camera.
Yep. The man behind the camera.
Hey, everybody.
Joe. He's awesome. We love him. All right. So, do you want to give a quick peek into what's up?
Remind everybody we're going to be in Inspire.
Oh, okay. So, real quick, Joe reminded me there's one thing I got to remind everybody.
Thank you.
Next month for July, we will be in Vegas with the Microsoft Inspire conference, meeting with tons of partners, gathering all kinds of really awesome information about the things they're working on, talking about things that we are working on, making relationships, and hopefully we'll have some awesome information to bring to you after that is completed. So stay aware of that, and if there's any awesome content that comes from it that's published online, I will post that to our Twitter account so that you are aware of it along the way. All right. Good?
Rich says
Perfect.
technically you
Thank
do
you.
work in Edge. You just don't work on Edge.
So, Wim, I'm going to kind of just like turn things over to you because I know you have a long list of things you want to cover. So, in between topics and demos, where do you want to start?
I think we just give people a quick overview of Edge for those who haven't heard. Maybe been living under a rock or something. No, I'm kidding. I suspect most of you on the chat right now have already been using it. And thank you so much. We really appreciate all the feedback you've been giving us. I recognize many of your names in there, so you guys are all awesome. But yeah, we're working on a brand new version of Edge that's coming out soon. And I can't give any more than that, but it is coming out soon, and it's kind of been rebuilt from the ground up. It's based on Chromium. It's has all the things you love about Edge, with all the things you love about the Chromium engine combined into one browser, which we're really excited about. Plus, a lot of cool additional features to help make you more productive and improve your privacy and all sorts of stuff with like collections and we have IE compatibility mode, so you can be in the browser and just launch if you're like you navigate to an old site, it doesn't kick you out to IE anymore. You actually can see that in the browser without leaving Edge. There's a whole bunch of stuff we have planned, and you're going to start. You can already use it now. We have the Canary and dev builds out today. Those Canary updates daily, dev updates about weekly, and so you can actually start trying it right now and get your hands on it. Send us feedback. We would love that. Although I know most of you are already doing that, so
We're also on the
thank you.
Mac too.
We also we're
on
also
Mac, Win 7.
Yeah. That's actually that just happened. I believe last week, right? Yeah, we released so we have a Canary and dev builds on Mac, which was out for a couple weeks now, and just last week. Sorry, I'm hitting the table.
That's all right.
Thank you, all the listeners, and and just last week we added support for Windows 7 and Windows 8 as well, which is really exciting. So pretty much anywhere you want to get Edge, you can.
Was it weird using Windows 7 again?
It is, yeah. It is a little. I love Windows 10. You always know, like when you go back to an older version of Windows, you're like, I'm missing this feature. That's when you know it's a really great update. Like, I can't do XYZ. So yeah.
I will say, for those of you in the chat, I did just drop the link in there. If you do not have the preview version of the new Edge browser installed, click that link. Go through and read up on the page on the information, some of what Williams just mentioned. There's the download links, so you can get whichever version you would like, the dev version or the Canary version, and you can get started right there.
Yeah, I will say, again, most of you probably know this, Canary is daily, so it's great. It's bleeding edge. It's literally what we see in the morning when we come into the office. So you're getting it at the same time as we are. That does mean there could be more bugs. Now, we've been pretty good so far about stability. There's been a couple hiccups here and there. But, just something to be aware of. If you want to be on the bleeding edge, Canary is the one to be on. But if you want a little more stable experience, Dev is...
you can install both.
And yeah, that's what's great. You can have them both side by side, alongside the current in-market version of Edge and any other browsers you want, so you can jump back and forth at will. Do you guys want to say anything else about the browser before we get started?
We accept extensions. You can actually install extensions
Yes,
in your
thank
favorite
you.
extension store,
Yeah.
so you can't even make the excuse that XYZ extension is not available, because you can go in and install it as well.
All your favorite extensions.
So I'm going to ask a couple questions out of ignorance, right? And I'm literally asking these out of ignorance. This is not like pre-stage stuff. I just want everybody
I told
to
him
know
to
this,
ask
right?
all these questions.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to ask questions and not be awkward about it. So the extensions that you can install here,
Yeah.
is it the exact same extension copy like you would install in Firefox? Something like that? Is it coming from the same place, or is it just a duplicate version that the extension author has created that's for this particular browser? How does that work?
So for developers, it's a standard like Chromium-based extension.
Okay.
Right? So unless it requires a Google service, it'll just work. You can take your extension and put it right in. And by depends on the Google service, I mean like if it tries to connect to the Google account, for example, in Chrome, right?
Sure.
But there's very few number of extensions that require that. For the vast majority of them, just work out of the box. and it's great. And developers can build it once and submit it to any browser that they want. So we do have an extension store where you can go in and browse a whole bunch of extensions. However, if you don't see the extension that you want in there, you can also just go to the Chrome Web Store, for example, and install directly from there. You do have to flip a little switch in the browser to enable that, but then you can install any extension you want. So yeah, it is the exact same extension.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite extension?
Uh-oh.
Should we go around the table? I use LastPass, store all my passwords. I don't know any of my passwords at this point. They're all random and super long and all that good stuff, all the right security stuff. So yeah, without that, I'm stuck. So that's the first extension I saw. Also, the I forget the official name, but the Web Activities extension. If you want to, it's just called Web Activities. Yeah, and you can use that to get all your stuff in timeline for right now. And actually, well, maybe you'll talk about one, so I won't steal them all. So let's go around the table and I'll mention one more at the end.
I use Instapaper.
Yeah, okay.
I click on the articles I want to read, and then it sends it to my Kindle every single day. So during my commute, I have my own little magazine of articles.
I did not even know that was a thing. This is one of the interesting things, right? I'm going to go off on one of my patented tangents here. There's so much stuff on the web and so many ways to interact with the myriad of content that's available out there that every time I talk to somebody, like, I end up hearing little tidbits like this, and I'm like, I didn't even know it was a thing. It's like there needs to be some way to try to digest everything, but then again, I don't think I want to try and digest everything on the internet because, well, we all have our limitations. I'm just going to leave it at that.
You got it in Wikipedia?
I'm not sure which one you were specifically referring to, but my favorite extension is kind of a nerdy one for Borderlands 2. It's the one that I remember made and actually tweeted at Amazon that, hey, it worked when you guys launched your new browser, and I was like, I've never seen this extension before. I'm totally using this. So I'm pretty stoked about that. That's one of my favorite right now. I love Borderlands 2 for 3. So.
Yeah.
I am personally an extensions-free person. Someone told me to try Honey recently. I gave it a try. I did get a good deal on a Groupon trip to float around in South Lake Union, one of the lakes around here. It was great. I'll probably keep it on for a little while and see what good deals I can get.
Yeah, exactly.
I was supposed to say I watch a lot of baseball, and I got the MLB.TV thing, and so there's tons of ads like that pop up like during the commercial breaks. They do separate ones from the network programming ones, and that's one of the ones that keeps coming up. It's like there's bounty paper towels and all kinds of stuff, and then it's like I'm like, maybe I actually should give it a try, right? It was like there's the old Ebates extension that I used to use in Firefox all the time, and it's like, oh, apparently they got a competitor now. But hey, saving money.
Saving money.
Right. You asked the question, Jen. You got to answer it too.
So outside of an ad blocker, I use a few extensions, but probably the one that makes me laugh the most is one published by Comedy Central that makes a certain person's tweets always show up in a child's scrawl. And the orange guy. I'm not going to get into it. It's very entertaining.
Okay.
I do have so one more extension. I was trying to see if I had it in here. No, I don't have it on here, so I won't talk about it yet.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah, there's good stuff. There's lots of cool extensions.
It's like mine's not anything cool. I just love AdBlock, right?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much like standard for the web at this point.
There is an extension, isn't it called So we used to have it for normal. Original Edge, Spartan Edge, which was called Night Eye, that made all websites dark.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a lover of dark themes, so.
Nice.
We now have dark theme in all of our full page experiences too, behind the flag.
It's still is it still set behind the flag?
I think it's still behind the flag, but now if you go to favorites, history, settings, and downloads, you'll get it dark. We finally turned that on. I think in the last 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's a perfect segue. That's one of the recent
you.
changes we've made in the latest dev build is the dark theme in settings, and now it's available on all the settings pages, which is really exciting. Again, we're still working.
I was reading in the notes, and it was like when you log feedback, that little feedback form is now dark. And I
Yep.
was like, I'm logging so much more feedback.
It was so meta that the
It's not
feedback
gonna
about
blind
dark
you.
theme was that the feedback box was not in dark theme.
Yeah.
So just to give marketing their moment in the sun, right? Like, because it's important. why did we decide to create a revamped browser? What was the impetus for doing this? Like, obviously, there's a ton of work that's going into this, right?
Yeah.
It's a massive effort. When I realize I'm happy to have the four of you here, but I know the size of your team is significant, right? There is a lot of, dev time, PM time, brain power going into this effort. What was the impetus behind all of this?
I think I don't know if you guys want to touch on this as well. We love the current version of Microsoft Edge, but we also knew that there's a lot of things we can do if we can kind of accelerate our speed and kind of bring users what they were really wanting if we by making this change. It frees us up in a lot of ways to kind of really push forward with a lot of new and hopefully innovative ideas. I think there was a number of reasons behind it, but
I think we also, the viewpoint, especially as Microsoft's turning over newly from really focusing on developers, so it was really building a great developer experience. So if you test in any Chromium-based website, you get the same baseline compatibility if you were to use Edge too. So it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship, right? Where devs don't have to use as much bandwidth testing, and then end users don't have as many compatibility issues, right? And so we're helping this ecosystem, and then investing all the key strengths of Microsoft into a great browser.
Right, and we felt we could contribute back to the entire Chromium browser ecosystem. Right, there's a lot of work we're doing that we are just giving back to all web browsers. We're not going to keep it just for us. We're building an open source browser. We're contributing all this stuff back, and to your point, developers are used to certain ways of building websites, and now they don't have to worry about what the engine is like, for the most part, right? They can just build once, and it just hopefully works.
One of the things that you mentioned was speed to market, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things that I know along the way that I'd heard from insiders repeatedly over the past many years of the insider program existing was in relation to, we found something with, there was a potential bug or whatever, waiting for it to come out in a preview build. But if it was affecting retail customers, right, it was potentially once a month it was going to be updated in, the latest LCE or Patch Tuesday type, release, or potentially take some major overhaul, which was going to be 6 potentially longer months before you would see that change implemented. Now being kind of in the decoupled is probably an easy way to say it, right? Yeah. And you're kind of standalone shipping space. You're shipping builds daily, and in your Canary, setup, it frees you from some of the longer time cycles that you were previously kind of held into.
Exactly. And I think another thing is that people want to use Edge on all their devices, right? Mm-hmm. They want to be able to access their favorites, their collections, right? Whatever they're doing everywhere. And with the previous version of Edge, which was built into Windows, that was much harder to bring to Mac, for example. And so now, for the first time in, I think, what has it been, 20 years, something like that?
Yeah.
We have a Microsoft web browser on the Mac again, right?
Who saw that coming? Wait. Well, besides y'all, because you knew what you were working on.
Sorry, I probably can't. It was an old version of IE. I forget the exact.
There's actually a Microsoft employee who left after working on IE and spent 10 years, in industry and came back, and he's once again now working on a browser from Microsoft for the Mac. He's like, "What's happening?"
I don't remember the Twitter handle, but is it the person who's on Twitter? It was I was at Microsoft working on something and the left, and it's
Eric?
Back on Edge again. And
no, there's another guy who came back recently. I think it's Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Or someone too.
Not that Chris Evans.
We got a superstar in the house, and I didn't know. Okay, why didn't y'all bring him to the webcast?
He's very busy saving the world.
I think it's really important too. A large part of what you said is that we're really invested in the community as well, right? So if you look at some of the things we fixed or addressed kind of in the last month even, that's all stemmed from what we were seeing on Twitter, the feedback portal. We've kind of shifted our priorities to not be what we want to build, but kind of more what the community is saying is we fixed or addressed or what's important to them, right? So we're kind of really being a lot heavy-handed in that space.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Right? But I think we're really excited, and hopefully everyone else is too.
Beautiful. So I can see the list. What's funny is on the past few webcasts, I've actually started making a list of things that I wanted to cover. And interestingly enough, I have to say it's been surprisingly successful. It's funny how when you actually write things down, you tend to not forget them if you have a piece of paper with them all jotted down or you put them in OneNote or something. I was about to say, speaking of OneNote, right? For those of you who don't know, used to work on OneNote before working on Edge, so there's a little bit of a throwback there.
Wasn't there dark theme for OneNote was like a parting gift?
Yeah, it was like we were just starting on it when I left. But
Yeah.
I can't take credit for it.
So, the list of things that you have to cover, right? I know we've kind of bounced around, we've made some intro stuff and whatnot. I know there's a lot of really cool things you want to go into, so please let's hop into the list. And if we've got demos we need to do, I've got the laptop set up,
Sure, yeah. So I think let's
dive
if you
in.
want, we just released a dev build yesterday.
Okay.
So we can talk about some of the changes in there. So typically when a new dev build comes out, that's when we'll announce a lot of the features. In Canary, it's sometimes we're just things are on and off, and we're testing things. But dev is really when it starts to kind of be available for more people, and we were ready to actually start talking about it. So we released dev build yesterday. There's a whole bunch of new features in there that I think people will like. So we can talk about some of those changes, and then we can do a couple demos of some of the new features in Edge, and answer any questions that people have. How's that sound?
Yeah, I've actually already started copying a few questions that have
Cool.
popped up in chat. So
Awesome.
If you've got questions along the way, if we don't get to it immediately, it may be because we're going to cover it, soon in the list of things we're going to cover, or if not, I will be capturing them in kind of a sheet so we can do some Q&A towards the end.
Cool. So I think Candace already brought up dark theme. Do you want to touch on any of that at all?
Yeah,
a little more.
Yeah,
detail?
for the last couple of weeks in our Edge dev build, we enabled dark theme on the frame. So the main UI elements when you're browsing the web, we made those dark already. We've been really spending a lot of cycles making sure we get the colors right on the full page experiences. So favorites, history, setting, extensions, downloads. I always forget downloads.
For downloads.
We finally turned on the
apps page as well.
The apps page, good old PWAs. Now they are also dark, so if you go into one of the Edge pages, you won't be blinded by the brightness and dark theme too.
I don't know if you guys are the same, but as one of the people who owns dark theme in Windows, I read through the feedback, and you do get reports which are like, my eyes are bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just really jarring to switch back and forth. Or now I turned on dark theme for all of Windows, right? So all the apps are dark, and then I'm like, I want to update my favorites. Oh God.
Right.
Where are my sunglasses? So we're still tweaking the colors. It's still behind a flag, but I'd love to hear feedback. But we know it's something that people have been asking for a really long time. It's one of our biggest pieces of feedback on the UX side coming in. So you can go into flags, turn it on, and let us know what you think, and hopefully not be blinded.
Yeah, and I will say it's something we're working on. So you still see changes coming in, right? We're kind of building this in the open, so you get to see it as we're working on it, which is great. It means you get bleeding edge access, but it also means things might turn on and off. Like I think in the Canary builds, dark theme for those settings pages,
We
they
turned it
went
off,
on
though.
and then went back off again. Now they're back on. So just things, you may see things change, but that's part of the fun.
So real quick, if I can actually do a demo, because I'm going to show people where the dark theme setting is within flags, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, go ahead and pop it over. So Edge whack flags. Right, and in this particular list, it happens to be right at the top. And of course, as you can see, I'm in dark mode, so I already have it enabled because, well, I much like Jen, I am dark mode everything. But so real quick, so that's how you get to this one and enable the dark mode. But in regards to flags in general, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
Right. So since I've got it pulled up, is now an okay time to kind of talk about what's in here, why it's in here, as opposed to why it's not a toggle in settings, kind of what you're planning with doing what's in here and how stuff comes in and out of this particular page.
Yeah, so I think the flags page is where we put all sorts of experiments. Some are from us, some are from just Chromium in general. So there's a mix in there. But these are features that we're still testing, but maybe not quite ready to turn on for everyone yet. So not everything will show up in here. Sometimes we'll put something in here temporarily and then move it out into the product once it's done. So dark theme right now is still behind a flag. I think we've enabled it by default at this point, so you don't have to go turn it on. But if you don't see it for some reason, you can certainly turn it on in here.
Okay.
And it follows your system's settings. If your OS is in dark theme, the browser will be in dark theme. If the OS is in light theme, the browser will be in light theme as
That's
well.
awesome.
and we have heard feedback. I think people want to be able to toggle that independently as well. But for now, again, we're still in development. We're still working on stuff. Once it's done, we will move it into the settings.
Sure.
So you can enable or disable it from there instead of just via flags.
So I love the tag up here, and obviously it's something to take heed of, right? Warning: experimental features ahead. So if you come in here and you are adjusting settings and things don't quite play as you were necessarily expecting them to, right? There is the button in the top center to reset everything back to the default, so you can get back into hopefully what was a good state. But obviously go in here and poke around if you would like, but do so at your own risk. But at least you have a recovery method.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Okay, so yeah, once it's enabled, you should have it enabled by default already.
Yep.
You can just go into your settings or favorites, and it should be dark.
Settings. I don't even know if I have any favorites
You're
on
on
this
the-
particular
on the
machine.
You don't have any favorites.
We're your favorites.
Yeah.
So sadly, like this on this machine, I'm just gonna pull up like me account, right? And we're gonna set it as a favorite. Yes, done. Ding.
There you go.
Right.
So then if you go to the menu, the more menu, and then
Is that the
favorites.
official name?
We call it the more menu.
We call it the more menu.
Technically, it's the settings in more menu.
Wait, did I click the wrong thing here?
Favorites.
Oh, never mind. Sorry. Hey, look, the one favorite that I
Menu
could
and manage.
manage favorites. There we go.
Ta-da! It's in dark
Yay.
theme.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So again, we're still doing polish on a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Finalizing colors, making sure it's compliant, reaching contrast ratios and things like that too. But it is turned on, and I think it looks pretty good too.
Yeah. So yeah, send us feedback as you have it. Again, it's still in progress, but we'd love to get your feedback on that.
So, in keeping with my I'm completely random theme, right? So you mentioned setting contrast and things like that. What kind of attention is being paid to accessibility as you're working through?
Massive amounts. Yeah.
I had no doubt that was going to be the answer, but it would be interesting to hear.
We
some
make
of
sure
the
everything is,
considerations.
we spend tons of time making sure things are accessible. That's critically important. It's not just like something we do at the end, like, oh, is this accessible? Yes, no, right? It's built into the entire process of designing a feature from every step to ensure that anyone can use what we're building. That's
For those
very
who
much
aren't
important to us.
familiar with like accessibility requirements,
Mhm.
it includes things like making sure there's enough contrast between two different colors.
Right.
When you're trying to represent stuff, it makes sure that everything is keyboard accessible only. It also means everything is read out loud if you're using a screen reader, and there are some other ones that I'm probably forgetting
Yeah.
now, but.
Yeah, and the accessibility improvements help everyone, right?
Yes.
And so that's one of the important things. Like, everyone gets a better experience because of this work. It's baked into the art design process from the very beginning, engineering process. So that's dark theme.
Yeah, I mean, so continuing on the theme of
Yeah.
accessibility,
Yeah.
we also want to make sure that Edge is available for people that speak languages outside of English.
There are a lot more in the
and
world
there's
than just
a lot more
English.
People in the world that don't speak English. So we've decided to go out with the first wave of languages. We've added 10 additional languages, support for the browser UI. We've added Arabic, we've added
Ooh,
Chinese. Yes, we've got Baidai in there, Hebrew, French, German, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Brazilian Portuguese, Spanish, and the other variants of English in there. So in the
I'm simply impressed that you have this list memorized.
Yes.
Like that's remarkable in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's been a process, and we're still ironing out the whole. Whenever we make a change to strings or content, we want to make sure that we get those to our localization team and get that back as soon as possible, so people can use the features in their native languages. So we've gone out, as I mentioned, with those waves of languages so that we can get feedback from you all out there and making sure that our process is correct as we work towards enabling more language so that we have eventual parity with the previous version of Edge Spartan.
You said that was as of yesterday's Canary build?
So as of, Monday, what is today? Wednesday. As
Yeah.
of Monday's Canary build, those languages that I've mentioned are available to enable by default. If you're still running on the latest dev, you can go into flags, search for languages, and there's a flag that you can toggle on there to allow you to switch to those languages.
And for those who, and you mentioned strings, for those who may not be familiar with that term, what is that?
Sure.
Or-
So if you're looking in the menu, as an example, if you click that more menu and settings, you'll now see those that text localized in your language. Or if you go into favorites, into settings, all of the text that is in that UI will be localized.
Is this one?
That is
Hashtag
correct.
enable language localization.
Yes. Hashtag enable language.
Nice.
Yep.
And yeah, this is just the beginning, right? We've got 10 to start with.
Yes.
But many more coming.
Many
right?
more are coming, yes. We're hoping to have parity with our previous version of Edge. We're working on that as we speak, so hopefully that will come to you guys soon. And if you see any translation issues, please let us know, file feedback. We're listening, and we get that over to our translation team to make sure that it's as accurate as possible.
So there's actually a relevant question that I wanted to ask real quick. It says, should we spend time writing feedback if our language is not there yet, or should we just wait?
I would say just wait.
Okay.
If you do speak one of the supported languages and you're fairly proficient in those languages, we're happy for feedback there. But we have heard your feedback about missing some language support, and so I'll make the statement here. We will have the same language support, UI language support, as Spartan as we continue to make updates here. So if your language is supported in Spartan, eventually it will be supported in this new Chromium-based version of Edge.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. I'm actually going to there's a question that just popped up, which is what the random exclamation was about. It was because somebody actually asked me this on Twitter not too long ago, and it's something I didn't know about. So I'm going to save the question for later, but I've got the list going here.
Sure,
so.
sure. Yeah, any other localization questions here? I know there's been a lot of questions about this over the last few months, so we're excited to finally get this out for people. Kofi he's our localization master. He runs everything related to languages, so yeah, he's the man.
Awesome.
In addition to many other things.
I was about to say you got some big burden on your shoulders there.
I would say it's a lot of fun.
You know every single language that we
he's
support,
actually-
right?
He's hand
You're fluent in every
translating language.
Yes.
It's really amazing.
And so the goal is, hopefully, I can talk to the higher ups on the Edge team and send me to one of these magical lands that speaks these languages. So please upvote that idea.
Please submit me that.
Send Kofi out to us.
I need to go visit
Yeah.
the people in the locales
It's user
to understand
research.
how they
Yeah.
want to use and interact with the browser.
Exactly.
I need that firsthand customer
Right,
experience.
right.
It's all about the customer
It's all about the
experience,
customer.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do a little traveling to get it.
Just to recap, in the dev, because you read the change list when
Yes.
it comes to dev, so the next dev build should have that.
So
It's currently on in dev builds behind a flag. So if you go to Edge /whack flags, and I think you put it in the chat,
Yeah.
search for languages, you can do it that way. The next dev build should have that on by default.
Cool.
Okay.
I just want like a list. I know you just said all the languages,
Oh,
but it
sure.
was like whoosh.
Yeah,
And now it's
when
gone.
it's on by default in dev, we have some blog posts and community messages queued up to send that out.
awesome. That's great. Thanks for all your awesome work on this. I'm excited to get this out. Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Let's see. Another new capability we've added is the ability to pin a website to your taskbar directly.
Okay.
We had the ability to go pin to the desktop. Now, excuse me.
I remember Ben, the PC guy, posting his workaround.
Yes.
He pinned it to the desktop, and then he pinned it to the
He dragged it to the
taskbar.
taskbar. Yeah, we heard your feedback that you really want to have easy access right on the taskbar, right?
Okay.
And that's kind of like the taskbar real estate is very limited and precious, right?
Sure.
But there are certain sites that you go to a lot, and that are just really important to your workflow. And so in that scenario, we have two options. You can either install the site like an app, if it's PWA or just even a regular website, and you can do that through the apps menu in that if you go to the More menu and then go to Apps,
Mm-hmm.
you can install a website, and that gives it its own window without an address bar tabs. But sometimes you just want to have a quick access to the website and still have all of the address bar and tabs, so you can switch back and forth between other sites. And so we want to give you that option.
Okay.
And now, if you go to like, let's go to the website. Like,
I'm going to pull up the Insider website.
I think that's a great
Look at
idea.
that.
Wait, the Edge one or the Windows one?
The Windows Insider website.
Okay, we'll give you that one. You got my hopes up. Jeez.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Hold
Okay.
on.
You guys are outnumbered, you know that, right?
It is their show, by the way. Here it is. If you've never been here, insider.windows.com.
No, that's perfect. Let's stay here.
Okay.
So let's say, like, I'm sure all of you, like me, go to the Windows Insider website every day. You want to know what's going
I
on.
totally do.
Right? I do, yeah. So all you have to do, I'm not being facetious here.
I've got this. We just
so-
posted an article there recently.
Yeah, so if you go to the
Here.
you go. So you go to the
I like
settings
that.
and more menu, and now you'll see pinned to taskbar under more tools.
Okay.
And when you click that button, you get the option to name it if you want. So you
Just
can
type
just
whip.
call it.
Just call it
yeah,
whip.
whip, right? Because everyone knows what whip is. So you put the whip right there, and now I have a nice easy link on my taskbar. If I close the tab and then click on it, it will take me right to the whip.
It doesn't even
homepage.
launch it. So here's a question, right?
Yeah.
So if you didn't have the browser open, I'm assuming it would open an instance of the browser and
That's
immediately
correct.
load
That's
the
correct.
page.
You should have closed the browser, for example.
But since it was open, it just loaded a new tab
Exactly.
without losing anything else
Exactly.
you were working on. Okay.
What's even better is that if you happen to have multiple tabs up, so let's say I'll go here, go to Bing, right, and it looks very similar to our new tab page, which is great. Bing image of the day, I love it. So let's go to, I don't know, Bing Maps, for example. You can see that here's the map, Seattle area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I want to get back to the site, if I click, this is something we just added that only the Microsoft Edge has.
Is it going to switch you back to the tab?
It's going to switch you back to the tab.
What?
Yeah.
Oh!
And the previous version of Microsoft Edge could do this as well.
Yeah.
We do a little tab deduping in here so that we know, if you already have the tab open, we'll just switch to it. And if you already have, if you've navigated around a little bit to another page in here,
Yeah.
it will switch to that page as well. So it knows that you were on that site and switches back. But it also makes sure it defaults to the basically imagine you pin Facebook, for example.
Okay.
Right? If you just have Facebook pinned. I don't have a demo set up here, but
That's all right.
if you click on this again, it would take you back to that page in it would take you back to the Facebook homepage right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just a quick, easy way to get to your favorite sites and then switch back. So you don't have to remember, what was which tab was I on? You just click it right there, and it just takes you
Right back to it.
right, easy access. Kind of like
Wow.
an Uber favorite, right?
That's kinda
There's
fun.
favorites, and then there's the things that you just really need. It's so important, and you just want to put right on your taskbar, and that you can do that here. And of course, again, like I was saying earlier, you can go to the Microsoft Edge Insider website. Right? If I can type. I just can't type today. So let's forget that. But my rather not. Yeah, my ability to spell apparently is not working this morning. But you can install this site like an app, Microsoft.com. Right. Actually, let's do Bing Maps because there'll be a different icon here.
Okay.
So if I use Bing Maps all the time, I can install Bing Maps as an app here. All right, because I love getting directions, and now I can pin this to my taskbar and have it down there all the time. And that's occasionally where you might see this little bug where it shows the Edge icon and it switches back. That's something we're in the process of fixing.
Okay.
Usually, if you unpin and repin it, it'll fix it. But now you actually get the entry point in your start menu, so you can just click on Bing Maps, and it looks like an app.
Does it work with middle click?
It does, yes. You can open up more instances of Bing
You should download that.
or shift click.
Shift click.
Yeah, shift click also works. So yeah, you can have multiple instances of the web app running. I like to do this for Outlook webmail, for example, Outlook.com.
Different
you can
accounts
have
and whatnot.
you can have different accounts.
Outlook.com.
Pins to Outlook.com.
Yeah.
You can do this for entertainment sites, all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's all right here, and you can see all of your sites from this flyout. You can get to them in the Windows settings, right? So you can go see the Windows Insider program or Bing Maps, and if you click on that, it just launches it like any other application on your computer.
It's awesome how beautifully this just integrates right into the OS.
Yeah.
Like it's just seamless, and it's like, hey, click here, you're doing exactly what you need, and you're getting all the content you wanted at like one click, maybe two at most, without having to, I'm going to go open the browser, I'm going to have to navigate, I'm going to have to get back to, to get to the exact thing that you wanted, presuming you didn't have it saved as a favorite or something. You're just like, oh, I'm going to click, here we go, we're done.
Exactly, and it's a dedicated experience, so sometimes, you might want to have, the Bing Maps example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just want to focus on one thing, you just want to get directions, you don't want to have all these tabs. I love tabs in the browser, but certain tasks you may just want to have a focused experience, or, again, the Outlook.com example, where I just want to see my email as if it was like, Outlook, 2019 or something.
Yeah.
But it's the web app running in the browser. So we're making a whole bunch of improvements there as well in the experience. But
well, it is.
Pin to taskbar is awesome.
Well, you're talking about the experience, and it is interesting because somebody like me, like if I have more than say 5 or 6 tabs open, I'm like, this is getting a little cluttered here.
Yeah.
And then I know I was about to say, I was about to use you as the example, Jen, because the number of tabs that Jen keeps open. Like, we won't discuss what that number is. Let's just say it's a lot.
It's high. It's very high.
Yes.
Like different tabs, different windows.
Yeah. I keep like one version of the browser open,
Yeah.
3 or 4 tabs, and that's it. I'm like, I'm good.
Now there's a couple there's other ways to do this tab management though, right? We know that a lot of people have many tabs open. You can also add stuff to your favorites, right? And we have the favorites bar, but we've heard feedback that people wanted to be able to put cram more favorites into a smaller amount of space on the favorites bar.
So something like
Candace,
this.
do we have anything to address that?
Oh wow, that's so nice that you asked, Loyo. Oh my gosh, so nice.
Don't you just love a good setup?
Okay, so let me add some more favorites. My favorite. Awesome.
Favorite the apps page.
Awesome.
Which app is your favorite? My favorite apps favorite?
My PWA app is my favorite page of my favorites, which I favorited. So yeah, we've heard a lot of feedback that the favorites bar is really valuable real estate for everyone who wants to keep their favorite sites. But the issue is, once you get so many, it's hard to fit everything on the bar itself. So now in Edge Dev, you actually go into any of these favorites on your favorites bar, right-click, and hit Show Icon Only. So this is really great if you have websites with very distinct favicons. Think of Facebook, Microsoft, Bing Maps.
I have a confession. I don't really use favorites. I just keep all the browser windows open.
Oh, but did you know, too?
Maybe this will help you with that endeavor, Jen.
Jen, did you know that you can click on a tab and add all the tabs to favorites? So
Do you
you're
just permanently pin a tab forever?
Are you-
This is a browser window of all my favorites of every website I've ever visited.
Can you imagine Jen reboots to install an OS update? Can you imagine the first time she opens the browser? Do you want to restore your session? The browser's like, please don't.
It's that barking emoji.
It starts a countdown timer. It'll be 12 minutes before you can use the browser.
It was like that with the old Ed. He was like, oh god. It's much better. New Edge is much better.
It's like, you want me to do what?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can save all this space. So now you can clean this all up. And so it hides all the text. So you have Show Icon Only. Or if you want only a certain view, you can select and choose.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask a question out of complete ignorance, right? This may be something that you've been able to do in any Chromium-based browser for like a decade. I don't know.
It does, yeah.
So the icons that are automatically like default represented, right? Obviously the Bing icon, the Microsoft icon. Is it possible for a user to set their own icon for something that they would be more likely to recollect? Like, because if you did this for like multiple Microsoft properties, I could potentially see it showing the same little Microsoft
Right.
logo on like 2 or 3 different sites, and I'm like, I don't remember. You mean you could probably
Yeah.
mouse over, right? Is that a thing? Am I making something up?
That's a great idea.
That's right. Have you?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Have you submitted a smile in Microsoft Edge?
Well, given that I literally just came up with the idea, I haven't yet, but
You're not the first. It has to come in. People have asked for customizing
Okay.
those favicons. But it's not something that currently exists.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. The one thing is, if you do have multiple Microsoft icons, we do retain the tooltip. So if you do hover above the Microsoft one,
You can see which
you
ones
can
it's actually
yeah.
linking to. Okay.
Because a lot of people are doing a workaround currently in Chrome, and previously before we implemented the feature, people will actually just erase the name, but then you lose like what the name of the favorite is. So if you go into Edge favorites, it is harder to type.
It's not just me.
It's not just you.
I'm like in a cold sweat. The names are still there, so you don't have to do that workaround anymore.
Yeah.
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 And from here, you can do like bulk management of your favorites and all sorts of good
Do a
stuff.
little favorite dance.
Yeah. I will say, I'll tease something.
Here we go. This is the fun
You'll
stuff.
notice there's a stark difference between what you're looking at here and the apps page
Okay.
in terms of visual design, let's say.
Yeah, the icons. There's a
and
lot
we're
less
working on
structure. The icons are really big.
We're working
here.
on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going for parity or close to.
You'll see the apps page look a whole lot better.
Okay. Okay. I'm not trying to break you into jail here. I'm just like,
No, that's
like,
that's not
how much
tease
can
a little
I
bit.
eke out of him? What is he going to tell me? Somebody just submitted the
Swap back.
feedback for the custom folder icons. So hey, somebody did the smiley.
nice.
Great, thank you.
So if it's,
I will
We do
feedback.
read everything. We
Okay.
do read all of it.
So I realize like we're like in a really good train here, but I want to ask because of the feedback side of things, right?
Yeah.
If I can do my prototypical, I'm going to hijack and take us off course for a moment. What is the best way to submit feedback? What type of information do you need? What is the core information that is gathered so people don't necessarily need to type it all out? So like what is the best way to architect and submit the feedback? Let me just kind of summarize it there rather than rambling for 20 minutes.
So it depends on the user, honestly. Whatever's easier for you. We have the smiley, which you can use, which is probably the best way because it actually goes through a proper funnel where not only myself but other members of the team can see it. We can kind of really make that information a lot easier for the team to digest and put some more action behind it. But if you just want to go to Twitter and just kind of blast, in the Twitter sphere, like, hey, it'd be great if you did this. That is what I spend a lot of my job combing through. And if you don't do the send a smile, I'll submit it for you via the send a smile. I spend a lot of time getting that done. Also, our forums is a great spot to. We have a lot of the team lurk in the forums, waiting to come talk to you and see that kind of stuff. So if you're there, that is probably the best way to get lots of eyes specifically on the team right away.
Okay.
Would be the forums.
And which
The Microsoft EdgeInsider.com forums. If you go to community, forums tab on the left, and you just need to have a Microsoft account. You can post anything you want there.
You can type it. Jeez.
Yeah,
So-
it's really simple because you're like, we're on Reddit as well. We don't specifically talk a lot in the Reddit space, but I
Yeah.
am watching a lot of the Reddit
You're a
conversations.
lurker.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm lurking. I'm lurking pretty hard there.
So from here, how do I get to the forum?
I can't see this.
I'm just on the Microsoft EdgeInsider.com page.
So there should be community on the top. There's a little
Perfect.
thing, and then if you just go down on the left, there should say blogs, forum.
GitHub, dev engagement.
Yep.
And then there's a Twitter feed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nicely done. This is
Yeah.
good stuff.
And for those who don't know, every time we release a dev update, that's where we put the release notes in the forum. We talk about all sorts of good stuff there.
so it directs you to the Microsoft Edge Insider section on the tech community forum.
That's correct.
Okay, that's
That's the easiest way
I
to
knew
do
I was
it.
eventually going to get
Yeah.
to something. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So again, it's just
Beautiful.
however you want to submit it. It's being watched. We have a bunch of people dedicated to reviewing that and looking into it, and then putting action behind it. We take it to our exec meetings, every month.
So here comes the question, and this is something that I know it's interesting for us, especially on like the Windows side of things. So I'm assuming it's probably similar, if not nearly identical, on the Edge side of things. Right? Is when a user submits something through the feedback hub on the operating system rather than going to like answers.microsoft.com in the insiders section. When the feedback hub gets used, we grab some of the diagnostics. If there was an error log related to the section they're filing, that gets auto uploaded. So there's some important and relevant information that is combined with the verbatim that they're submitting. I'm assuming it's the same way when you click the smile. I did see there's a diagnostics log thing.
Yes.
So click this. It takes a second for it to load. There's some diagnostic data.
Yeah, if
Looks
you click
like
on
it's-
click on that actually.
Okay.
it's a great segue because in the latest dev build, we've actually added the ability to choose which categories of the diagnostic data you are sent that we send when you submit.
Gives
feedback.
users some control over.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not just like an on-off, all up. You can actually decide what to send. And that's things like
well, not just control, but like make sure the diagnostics are valuable. For
exactly. Yeah. And you might say, oh, it's not really related to that. I'll uncheck those. You know, you have that control. You don't want to just bulk send everything. So we get things like sync events, experiment and field trials. That actually lets us know what experiments you have on because sometimes you might turn on a feature that we know we put that warning in that flags page where it's like, hey, you might break something.
Did you have one of those enabled?
Exactly. And so we might go, oh, that's why it's broken.
Okay.
Either there's something we weren't aware of and you were using that feature, or yeah, we knew that and you went ahead and enabled it anyway, and we knew that would break. Sorry.
Do you get emails when your feedback is updated, or is that just internal?
Do you remember? I want to say you do.
I think you do. Yeah. It's been a while. I know we've done some changes on it, but I believe if there's an action taken or something changes on your feedback, you should get an email back letting you know that that's happened.
Cool.
Yeah.
And just as reassurance, like as PMs, when they find enough of a pattern of feedback, so it's all one category, asking for a certain language or a certain issue, we get directly emailed. It's in our backlog as well too. So every single day, even if we did want to ignore all the feedback,
it's not going to be an option.
Yeah. And so,
but we can also go in at any time, and most of the team does.
We do a lot of categorization, we do a lot of ranking, voting, prioritizing, but a lot of us read the verbatims every single day when we're driving product decisions.
I actually forgot a pretty big piece there. We also have a support team as well. So you can go to that same link if you go to agencenter.com. There's a support link on the top there. I can't remember how big the team is, but they're highly trained in everything that we're doing, and they're kept up to date with all the updates as they roll through. So if you do have an issue as you're using, you can reach out to the support team and they can help you out pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they're really good about getting back to responses. They have like an SLA like within a day is their goal. So
sure.
And to my knowledge, they've been hitting it pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And what's funny is as we're sitting here and I'm looking at the browser, I'm like, there's 7 tabs open. I need to close one. It's getting me. It's like, oh, the apps is open twice. Let's fix that.
Yeah.
So, thank you for indulging my, little sidetrack here, right? Obviously, being that it's in preview currently, regardless of, whether you're on the Canary or the dev version, right? Obviously, getting the feedback is super important, right? Something we know a great deal about because of the Windows Insider program, right? So it's great to see that there's a near parity in between like how the feedback goes through, who's looking at it, response times and things. Like obviously you're putting a lot of work into this, and it's I don't know. Like for me, it's exciting to see something developed and be a work in progress because it always means there's opportunities to drive the things that users want and are hoping to see. And it sounds like y'all are being super responsive to that, which is great. I mean, that's what keeps people engaged and moving forward with trying to help the product become the next better version of itself.
Well, and it helps us so much. Like we couldn't do it without all of your feedback, and it helps us know what you want to see. Helps us identify issues. I mean, we do a lot of testing on our end too, but like it's just we want to build a browser that you guys love, right? And so thank you for helping us with that. We couldn't do without you. So yeah, I think a couple of the other changes, new stuff if you guys want.
Sorry, back on track.
Yeah. So the latest dev build also added the ability to import. So when you go through when you set up Edge for the first time, the new Edge, we ask if you want to import your data from other browsers.
Okay.
And so kind of along those privacy lines of like the diagnostic data, we now let you choose whether or not you want to import like just autofill data or also like credit card and payment info as well. So you can decide. Before it was all like one bucket. Hey, do you just want to import all like the autofill stuff, and that include credit cards and whatnot. And obviously we keep it all safe and secure inside of Edge. But we now let you split that up too. So you just have a little more control during that. There's also been a bunch of other fixes as well. But that's what's new in the latest dev build. But if you want, we can also talk about some of the other functionality we've added to Edge in the last couple weeks since we were on the webcast. Because that's just in the last week. That's
so. I don't want to stop us from talking about more new awesomeness, but I got another question. It's actually something that came up.
I like questions.
So
questions are great. I love questions.
It was one of the feedback things. Let me. I'm going to parse the question because it was. It's a little. So okay. It's
This is riveting.
I'm adjusting the wording. So I apologize for the dead air. I'm making
He's
sure.
actually translating so Kofi can answer
Yeah.
back in Polish.
Could you let me? So, if I understand the question correctly, when installing the browser, I guess from scratch, right? It defaults to the on state for importing content from, say, Chrome, right? This user stated they have over 1,000 bookmarks. And apparently it got stuck during the sync, so this user had to go through and delete a large number of bookmarks. I'm assuming they made a backup and deleted some so they could finish importing, right? Obviously it's a lot to import. So
sorry to hear that, yeah.
I guess it's just a question of, really, do we want to default that on, default that off, right?
Yeah, I can answer it on a couple of different dimensions for favorites.
Yeah.
So the big thing for favorites when you bring it in from another browser is we're doing optimizations to make it easier for you to understand which browser you want to import stuff. We did some really interesting designs and experimentation on trying to understand and predict and guess which browser you want that content from. And we're making it clear for users in upcoming versions so you know where it's coming from.
Okay.
That's one dimension of it. The second dimension of it is we've already worked to do better optimization in performance. So if you are a user with thousands of favorites, you already see better scrolling, drag and drop performance, and we're doing better optimization so you get more content in your frame. So we're making cards smaller, easier to manage, and things like that too. So that's the management side and the optimization side. The third part is for sync. We're still in early stages for syncing the favorites content, and we've done a lot of dev work underneath the hood to do better diagnostics. So when you do run into issues such as like duplicates or things not syncing, the engineers have a better and clear understanding of what the issue is, and we've been able to resolve bugs faster. So hopefully those three pillars of what we're doing for favorites will prevent issues like that happening in the future.
Okay. So during the import process, right? I'm assuming. And you know what you get when you assume, so bear with me for asking this.
Favorites, yeah.
I know, right? It will import, I'm assuming, from Chrome, from Firefox. Does it import from original Edge as well? Is there a list of browsers somewhere that it directly imports from, or is it kind of broadly open enough that it's going to understand, hey, there's these other browsers installed, I've got kind of a complete list, I know what to go look for? Because it needs to know that it's got to go look for something like, and I'm getting kind of, on the edge here, like something like Opera, right? Which I realize doesn't, it's not as big as it used to be at one point in time, but like, will it import from Opera potentially? Like,
we do some intelligence to understand which browser you're using the most, and we'll do an auto import if you allow us to.
Sure.
If the import doesn't go as you expect, or actually if you're importing from multiple browsers, in our settings page, there's actually a dedicated import for favorites, and there's a drop down with a full list, so that includes like Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Internet Explorer, and the good thing is all the browsers are actually pretty good citizens in the sense that you can always export your favorites / bookmarks from a browser as an HTML file.
Okay.
And so even if your browser is not listed, you can export it from your source browser and then import an HTML file directly into Edge.
So there's a little bit of middle work, but it still makes it fairly straightforward to grab it and then.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
we want to make it as easy for you to get your content into Edge as possible.
Okay. And then you did answer the other question, like, is it possible to import from multiple browsers?
Yep.
Yeah. So one question I have, because while I have imported from one browser, I haven't imported from a second browser that I was using that shall not be named. When you import, like, say you're importing favorites, right? And we'll just talk about it, right? Like, say you had Chrome installed and you had Firefox installed, right? And you had two completely separate lists of favorites. When you import those into this new version of Edge, does it create one long list? Does it say these came from browser A and these came from browser B? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, especially if you're doing it from a second browser. We don't do a straight up merge. We do a new directory or a new folder, and one will say imported from browser shall not be named. Other browser that shall not be named. We keep them separate.
You can name them, but we do import from.
Yeah, and so that way we also have the full page experience. And so one major difference from this current version of Edge that we're building in Chromium versus the old is there's a lot easier management. So you can multi-select, drag things around, delete in the full page experience. So you can actually, after you bring everything in, if you wanted to kind of reconfigure, it's pretty straightforward too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess moving on to that's all right. I got a couple
Yeah,
more things to touch on.
No, absolutely.
To more like entertainment and reading. Reading View should now be available for everyone by default in Edge. It's a great experience here. Where let's go to an article real quick, or you can actually go in here. And you can you can read aloud. Sorry, I scared you there.
I was paying attention, but
so you can read aloud, but we also have a nice reading view here where it gives you a beautiful.
It cleans it, like all the frames are gone.
Right, gets rid of all the distractions and lets you focus just on the content.
Do you do the clutter-free printing as well that the older one did?
I forget. Yeah, I'm not an expert on the printing.
That was based on so Reading View was introduced in Old Edge
right.
for clutter-free printing, but I thought clutter-free printing was based on Reading View. In fact, we already had that tech. So I'm just curious if New Edge. I don't print things, but I
Not
know it's
entirely
important.
sure, but I believe the team that did the print stuff for the Windows version, the what do we call it now? The current in-market version of Edge is the same team that is building the Chromium-based one too. So I think they're addressing a lot of differences in functionality.
Okay.
So optimistic that the stuff that you love will come back.
Okay.
Yeah. Another great thing I'm excited about is media controls. So now when you pause and play a video in the browser, I'm not going to play it here just so that we don't get weird audio loops. But if you pause and play something, you'll actually see the standard Windows media controls pop up in the top left corner.
Do you know the real name of that feature?
What is it?
I mean, you should probably if
Like-
you're on the email thread. the internal.
Well, let's tell everyone else.
Yeah, it's SMTC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
System
Media transport controls.
Yeah, that classic user-friendly name.
Oh yeah.
I have some tracking feedback collections on our side for updating that in various ways, and I usually am just like the video and media controls overlay.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the back end, we call it SMTC.
Yes. Some fun Windows trivia for you. So that's it. And then if you're on the Mac version, which I know you guys are not, we have touch bar support as well.
How did you know that?
Hey, I got a Windows PC here too. But no, there is a touch bar support as well. So if you have a touch bar on the new MacBooks, you can see your tabs and switch between them and stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's like
Awesome.
tab preview.
Yeah, it's kind of like an easy way to switch between the tabs. Yeah, all your little icons appear there.
I have to
Little
admit,
favicons.
so you probably know I come from a Mac family, and every single time I go back home, I'm always like,
Yeah.
you're like, right, touch doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Same way. I'm like, I can't. How do I use this? What is a world without touch?
So hold on before you get to the next one, because I can see what the next one that is not scratched out on your list is.
Okay. Oh
right?
man.
So one of the questions that
You're revealing my process.
Ooh! I'm jealous of the process because you're organized. One of the things that was asked in the chat earlier was, will there be group policy templates available, and how detailed will they be?
That's a great question. So actually, this week we've started to release the first details about our group policy support, and we're excited about this. So if you go to the tech community forums, actually, which we just showed you how to get to earlier.
Yep.
We actually have a post from Sean on our team that goes into this. Sorry, different Sean. I
was like,
EA. It's a W. yeah. But no, Sean, who runs our enterprise team, and it goes into detail on the group policy support. We're not ready to start talking about everything yet, but we actually have provided a zip file with the ADMX. And an English version of an ADML file, which if you're an enterprise user and you know group policy, these are standard files that you'll use here, as well as like a documentation with the list of policies. So if you're interested in group policy, that's now out. Want to be very clear, this is a work in progress. So This is not final. It's a draft, and there's a lot of changes that were being implemented. Not everything. Yeah, this is right here. Right?
Yeah, I went ahead. If you're watching, I went ahead and pulled the article out and make note of the sentence in bold. Note that not all of the associated policies have been implemented by current Canary or dev builds. Right.
Exactly.
Work in progress.
It's a work in progress, so things may not fully work yet.
Okay.
But it is the list of group policies. So if you're curious, we've made that available in English.
And they will be localized as well.
the important details.
Exactly.
And then right here, when you get to the bottom of the page, if you were looking to actually download and review this material, right, and there's the title of the content. There's a little down arrow with a little link, right? You can see me mouse overing it. It's a little zip file. You can go and obtain it right there.
Exactly. So yeah. So if you're curious about how we're going to handle group policies in the enterprise environment, that is a great resource for you. You can kind of think of it as like the best of both worlds between the current in-market version of Edge and the what's available in Chromium. So we've kind of taken all of your favorites from both and combined them into something I think should be simple and straightforward for enterprises to manage, because you can take all the same policies you're used to if you were using Chromium and continue using them, or you can take all the ones you had in the current version of Edge and continue using them. So we're trying to give you a lot of flexibility here. So please try that out. Send us feedback as well. You can leave comments on the post, and Sean will see them. Or send us feedback on Twitter, through the feedback tool in the browser. All sorts of ways you can let us know. And we'll have much more to share on this topic in the future too.
Question about the previous subject that came up.
Thank you for
Thank
stopping
you,
in.
Kofi.
Appreciate it.
Is there a hotkey to enable reading view? I was on
I
Spartan Edge.
forget.
So on Spartan Edge, it was Control-Shift-R.
How do you remember all these?
I literally just looked it up.
Okay.
Wait. I have an amazing memory.
I believe refresh now.
Yeah,
but
so I
yeah.
was just curious because usually you're pretty good about like hovering and showing what the hotkey.
Yeah. I think I'll follow up on that. I'm actually not sure.
Friend phase.
Yeah.
I know the keyboard shortcut PM, so we can.
Yeah.
He keeps a master list, a master scroll of all the keyboard shortcuts.
There
Yeah,
was
there's a lot.
an accessibility question. So
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. We'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Also, for developers, we recently released a preview of WebView 2. I know we started talking about this at Build. But WebView 2 is the new WebView control. So if you're a app developer and you want to be able to show a web page in your app, WebView 1, right, or the standard WebView is based on the current version of Edge HTML, and WebView 2 is based on the new Chromium version of Edge.
Awesome.
So the reason we provide both is that the feature set is not identical between the two yet, and so you may still want to continue using WebView 1 or WebView 2 depending on what you want to do in your app.
Okay.
WebView 2 is in preview right now. Again, there's a blog post up on the Windows blog that goes into this in a lot more detail. We even have like a video there, but it initially supports a set of Win32 C++ APIs on Win 10. We're going to bring support for other versions of Windows, like Windows 7, Windows Server 2012, R2 and above. And of course, support for other types of apps like UWP, WPF, WinForms in the future.
Awesome.
And what's great is you can use the 32-bit WebView on 64-bit machines as well. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Some fun stuff there. And you can disable dev tools, disable the status bar, so we've given you a bunch of control in there. And we, like the rest of Edge, will be updating this every 6 weeks. So while WebView you only is updated with Windows, WebView 2 will be able to update at the same cadence as the rest of the browser. So we can keep revving things as often as you want. So, yeah.
It's just exciting. Like it's the speed at which things are changing and the way that you're architecting your development setup and environment broadly, so that you can stay super nimble in how you address things, how quickly you make changes, how you can publish those changes. Like it's just exciting, right? Because you come from a thing where we find a bug in the insider program, you have to go get it back, research it, compare with data and telemetry, assess it, okay, prioritize it, work through some of this. And it's not that you don't do some of these same exercises, but the speed of what I would say a change in code.
Right.
From sometimes ours are quick, right? Sometimes we have them done in a week. Oftentimes it'll be 2-3 weeks, a month, right? Depending on the severity of the bug. And it just seems like y'all are maintaining a state where you're just super nimble with everything that you're doing.
That's the goal. And I think actually just last week we had, here's a great example. We found out that all of a sudden web apps, PWA, just wouldn't launch. You guys may have seen it in one a build one day. And we found out later it was something else. We'd accidentally checked in some other area, completely broke the PWAs from launching, and we fixed it, and it was all resolved within 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that. It was really fast turnaround time. So, in fact, most of you may not have even noticed this bug, right?
That's the best feeling where the devs are like, it's already been fixed.
Yeah.
You'll see it fixed tomorrow.
Right.
Just update, go to bed.
Yep.
Update your browser.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean I get to have a bug resolved by sleeping?
Yeah.
Best
Well,
bug
no.
ever. I'm kidding.
We're not sleeping on the job here.
No, as an end user. Be like, just go to sleep, go take a nap, wake up, and it'll be all better.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Edge team's like,
Yeah.
okay.
We've got this. It's okay.
Rest. You all good. I'll be all better in the morning.
But it's just been incredibly liberating as a PM to respond to feedback that way, or like even doing here what we call like writing specs and things like that too. We can have an idea from feedback in a week, have it reviewed with design, devs do it, we put it in the telemetry, and you'll see something in less than 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some of these smaller features for favorites have all been generated and made it into product in less than 3 weeks, which is extremely cool.
I was going to say, that is an extremely fast turnaround.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff on our list. That we still have a lot of stuff we want to go do before we release to everyone. There's so I know some people are like, hey, when's this coming or when's that coming? It's happening for many of those. I think we've talked about it in the past. Like people ask about Share. Share's coming.
Share's coming.
I know, Rich. Don't worry, it's coming.
I love it when people get called out, right?
I think he asks me about it almost daily. So,
oh my goodness, that's
no,
awesome.
I love it. But like there's a certain ordering for things, so we can't just say like, oh, it'll be here tomorrow always.
Sure.
Even if it is super cheap, but like there is a. We are trying to get to it as quickly as possible, and there's a certain order for things, and more details we'll be able to share in the future around. So there's also a lot of work just happening behind the scenes that you may not see, just to get like like there's a massive amount of working sync working in the background, getting our installer like working flawlessly, right? Not that it is a problem, but we want to make sure that when you install Edge for the first time, you have an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work where once you install it, you don't see that work again, right? But the whole importing your data and making sure we get you set up, that's a lot of work. There's a lot of people working very hard on stuff like that to make sure that you have a smooth experience using it for the first time.
And not just on like fundamental features that are inherent in a lot of the browsers, right? It's like this ability allows us to also quickly iterate and build really cool new experiences too.
Yeah.
So once again, I'll plug all the stuff that we showed at Build, right? Because we have the engineering system, because we're building a team that is agile and quick to react to user feedback. It makes us be able to build really cool, innovative ideas a lot quicker.
Yeah. It's fun.
So it just sounds like you're going to be busy now until the foreseeable future, really.
I love it though. It's good to be busy. It is a crazy busy time, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got about 15 minutes left. I know that there were some questions that I had shared previously because, stuff I had seen in the days leading up to this, this webcast. There are questions that I've gathered out of the chat, which I don't think I've gathered all of them, but we'll go through the ones that I have grabbed. If I happen to miss somebody's question along the way after we get through the list that I have, please repost it and we'll try to address it quickly. Before we jump into the Q&A, were there any other highlights that you wanted to touch on, or you ready to just dive in? And
I think those are some of the big changes since I think our last webcast. I think there's a lot more I'm sure we've missed as well, but we just want to highlight some of the really exciting changes. But let's take questions. I don't want to love to take more. We've taken a few questions already, but I'd love to get more in unless you guys would rather bring it.
Really what we're saying is go, if you haven't used it yet, download it, install it, play with it, and share some feedback and let us know what we should do, right?
So there's an important question in the chat.
Uh-oh, what's the question?
Is it?
I saw it.
It's with Brandon gone.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Why wasn't I here in Star Wars gear?
Well, I mean, if anybody follows you on Twitter, you were just on an adventure.
I were, but nobody wants to hear about that. They don't want to hear about Galaxy's Edge. They want to hear about Microsoft Edge. So.
Oh my god. This seems like a double-edged sword.
Oh!
Lightsaber?
Wow. And the puns have hit. Oh my goodness.
So we should get to the real questions before we get off the rails
I
even
have a real
further.
question that came up in the chat. Does Reading Views support Dark Theme?
That was actually one of the ones I captured.
That's a great
so
question.
Pick that off
Yes,
the
it
list.
used to.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah, they're working.
that may be one of those things that we haven't fully finished yet, and that's why Dark Theme is not enabled by default for everyone, and not fully rolled out. And it's just things like that. But we still want to be able to use Dark Theme in the meantime. So, great question though.
So there's something, and this is one of the ones that I know I sent yesterday because I know that it's kind of a big, broader topic that you got to bite into.
Yeah.
And it's not just a simple yes/no type response. One of the things that actually came up in Discord, and it came up on Twitter from someone else as well, in relation to smooth scrolling, how it functions in the browser, and I think one of the things that, at least one of the users kind of put some detail around was the difference between it being something that's inherent just to the browser versus being something that's related to like UWPs in general and how they interact with the OS. So like to the question itself, right? Like, are there changes coming to smooth scrolling? I think you actually have what I sent over yesterday, right?
Yeah,
but like I guess just in general to that particular set of functionality, like.
So I think the answer is yes, there are changes coming. Do you want to dive into some of the...
Yeah, so we actually reached out to the PM who owns it on the platform side of Edge, and just as reassurance, like we're actively working on it. There's a whole development and PM team focused on making these platform side enhancements, make sure things like smooth scrolling, better battery life, other features and things like that.
Foundational
too.
improvements, yeah.
Yeah, foundational things that make the browser run and operate really great. So smooth scrolling has been a main focus of ours. There's some really great stuff coming up really, really soon. And then there's also longer term investments by our team, platform-wise.
So I mean it's coming.
Yeah.
Parts are already in, but I think the real smoothness should be in the future. That's one of those things that we're again contributing back to Chromium. So every Chromium-based browser will get this smooth scrolling ability, not just Edge, which is exciting. I think.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So oldest. I literally just have them kind of oldest to newest. So. Quickly, Kareen asked earlier, I have a wish for Edge, and this isn't just Edge, right? I know this is a Chromium thing. It's like when you have multiple tabs open in your browser, say you're on tab number 4 of 10, and you click a link on a page, you just like open in a new tab. Instead of making it tab number 11, it actually inserts it and makes it tab number 5. It opens it next to it. Is it ever going to be a thing where you have a setting to say just open it at the end rather than opening it next to where you already are?
That's great. That's really great feedback. I'll take that back to the team. But please, again, submit it as well.
Feedback.
That
Submit
helps
it,
us. I will. I please, like, I love getting feedback, and I'll like Sean does too. I'll go and I'll submit feedback through the tool, or I'll just send an email to the.
My memory is good,
to the
but
PMs.
it's only so good.
Exactly.
Getting it
But
into
that's a great suggestion. And
has
it's
a
that kind of
record,
stuff.
Has a log.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that kind of stuff that helps us, know what you want.
We know the tabs PM too, and he's been very receptive, and I've been getting a list of things that I want improved, and that's actually one of the things I've been asking for. And so he's always been like,
Yeah.
interesting. He doesn't have a beard, but he does stroke his chin.
So next up on the list, could you please provide a keyboard shortcut to enable or disable dark theme for accessibility relating to WCAG 1.41, which I'm assuming is accessibility standards.
Yes.
So
Okay.
more just a request,
That's
I
great.
guess, something to take
I
back
believe
and make a
that's-
note of.
Again, we're still working on dark theme. I don't know the specifics of whether that's currently in plan yet, but
Okay.
Microsoft is committed to to meeting and exceeding accessibility standards and making the web a great experience for everyone.
Yeah.
Didn't we a few months ago release an accessibility checker for all websites?
Yes, I believe WebHint will help check the accessibility of your.
Was it WebHint?
I forget. Yeah, I know WebHint does it.
Are you talking about internally, like what we?
Externally.
There's for those of you who don't know, WebHint is a site you can go to that'll check your website for accessibility and PWA support and all this other stuff. So if you're a web developer, WebHint's a really cool resource.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think this was asked earlier, right?
Sure.
I'm just going to kind of repost it for clarification, right? If your OS is in dark theme, but you want Edge and light theme, can you do that? I think you said earlier that Edge kind of reads what the OS is set to. It's not a separate setting that's in there yet.
Yeah, that's as of
correct.
now.
But we have heard feedback that you
Okay.
want to be able to set them independently.
Okay.
Yep.
So tagging onto the existing feedback, there we go. So this is something that I'm not familiar with, right? So I'm just going to ask the question as it was stated. Will set these tabs aside be back?
Yes, the tab sweep or set
Ding, ding,
aside
ding, ding,
tabs.
ding, ding.
Yes, that's one of those features we get a lot of feedback about, which I love. That's one of the things I really liked about the current in-market version of Edge, is that again, for those who maybe haven't used it, if you are if you have a bunch of tabs open, like Jen, for example. If I'm Jen,
I don't close my tabs.
I know, but if you were, right, or maybe if you use Tab Sweep, this would help you maybe alleviate some of your concerns.
I don't have any concerns. I'm happy with
No concerns whatsoever. So if you with Tab Sweep. That basically allows you to take all of your tabs that are open and put them into a quick group that's stored in the browser. It's not a favorite. It's more of a temporary thing that you can go back to and access later. So think about I want to sweep all these tabs into a group for a project, and then if I click on it, I can open up all the tabs again.
So one of the things, and this is like a perfect use case, and I'm sad that I didn't know this was a thing, right? There's so much to do in Windows and all the apps that are associated with it, right? Like I readily admit I don't know everything. I learn something new practically every day.
Right.
But it's like when I get a bug from one of the insiders, they report something on, say, Twitter or the answers form or whatnot, right? I'll leave it open so I have a reference point. Then I'll go search in the feedback hub, right? Which I get, it's an app, right? But I kind of hold it aside, right? There's usually a link to take me there.
Yeah.
And then we have some of our analysis tools, which I won't call out, but they're web-based, right? And then there's Cosmos, where a chunk of the data actually lives. So there'll be 3 or 4 different tabs plus, and then don't forget, AD, Azure DevOps, or Visual Studio, or, whatever its name is at this point, right? It's Azure DevOps. Right, it's just changed a few times. So I'll have 4 or 5 tabs related to a specific case or bug or something that I'm digging into. You can actually lump those together and kind of...
if you have them open in the browser, you can say, I just want to take all these and sweep them away for now. I'm not ready to finish this project yet. Right?
Yeah.
But I need to come back later. So you just sweep them all away, it just goes off to the side, you can get back to it later.
Things I did not know.
See? So that exactly is a great example of the reason why people love the feature, and the reason why so people love it, but the fact that you didn't know it or other people didn't know about this, right, meant that we actually didn't see as much usage as we were expecting. But we know there's a problem around tab management, right?
Yes.
People have lots of tabs and they struggle with what to do with these, and Tab Sweep solves that, and it's awesome. But sometimes the usage was a bit lower. And so there's a set of features like setting aside tabs where we know there's a problem when we want to bring it to the new version of Edge, but we're going to be thoughtful in how we do it.
Sure. And
make sure that maybe it won't be an exact copy of what we had before, but we can really solve the core user problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because we know that this is a problem and that this would solve.
I mean, I've got the exact problem, right?
Right, exactly. But maybe we can do it in a way that is meets the same, solves the same problem and accomplishes the same goals while being even easier to use, and hopefully making it something that everyone can
He's looking at Jen.
can use easier. Exactly. I'm looking at Jen, so no. Well, both of you, right? Yeah, you knew about Tab Sweep. You just don't use it. You did know about Tab Sweep, but you wanted it, right?
Yeah, it's
so. How do we solve that? Yeah, and that's what we're looking
Is this
at.
a lead-in? Because I'm really excited for collections.
So no, it's not a lead-in actually. That's a separate feature. But yeah, setting aside tabs is something that we're going to take a look at, and we are actively looking at what is the best way to bring that to the new version of Edge. So you won't see that right away, but it is something we're looking to bring.
It sounds like you might be a happy user of collections one day too.
I would be a happy internal self-hoster of that feature.
Now, to be clear, we are as we transition over to collections real quick. I want to be clear. They're two very different things, right? Tab Sleep is I want to get all my stuff and put it away. Collections, Candace, do you want to talk about collections real briefly?
Yeah, sure. So collections, it's really a combination of us really evaluating some of the problems that we see in the browser today. Things haven't changed in the last 20 years. The way that you save websites, you've been bookmarking and favoriting for almost 20 years in the same exact way. So we really wanted to give the Microsoft take on how to make it easier for users to browse the web, find things that are interesting, and then put it somewhere that they know it's safe and that they can share out later. So collections is this feature that we showed over at Build. And so the cool thing is not only are you able to save URLs just like a favorite, you're actually able to save pieces of the web. So you can save things like an image, text, and we're also doing some really interesting things with machine learning. So if you go to certain pages, we're able to run these machine learning models in your browser and understand the structure. So if you save an Amazon product, not only are we saving the favicon and the product name, but we're also doing some really cool intelligence to save things like your rating and your price. So if you're shopping for a brand new phone case and you want to save all the phone cases that you're looking for on Amazon, along with the price and the rating, you can save into your collections and then hit a button to share it out to Excel. Or, if you're doing a report as a student, you can share it out and have all the citations built in too.
Wow.
You didn't watch The Last All Hands, did you, Jason?
I have not seen the entire thing.
For feedback and stuff, collections is great. Like I've been messing around with it, and to be able to export a ton of Twitter data without having to I need to snip it or I need to copy a link. I can just go through and pull it and just dump it to Excel and just label it out. It's great.
Sounds like I need to finish watching the video.
That's really an interesting use case. I hadn't thought of just adding tweets to that, and then you can just send it to Excel, and you get that full list.
We should talk.
Yeah,
it's super helpful.
Yeah, but it's great. And what are some things you have collections for?
2 months ago, I went to a trip to Thailand, and so I wanted to just save the places I wanted to go. I wanted to take some notes and tell my brother, these are the places I want to try out. We went to one of those elephant sanctuaries, and then I was thinking about buying a new camera lens too. So instead of saving things here and favoriting things there, I made one called Trip to Thailand. I put in the camera lens I wanted to buy. I wrote some notes about some of the elephant sanctuaries we were considering, and I had this really beautiful list, and it was very visual. And then I even saved things like inspiration, so pictures of elephants, things like that too. Just having that kind of grouped together, and it was active, and it always linked back to the source, made it so much easier for me to kind of organize my thoughts. I'm a very visual thinker, and I felt like the browser finally was kind of fulfilling the next level. I felt like I was kind of like modern browsing, not to sound too much like a commercial, but it's a little bit different than saving a whole bunch of favorites. And I'm also the PM on favorites too, so I'm not trying to rag on that. But it seems like it's like a modern evolution of making it easier for you to save the things that are most important for you.
Yeah, they're two very different things. I think favorites is like the destinations that I want to, the quickly important pages that I want to be able to quickly get back to later, so I don't forget.
The concept of temporary stuff.
Yeah, or a project, or there's something where there's
projects, important
to do.
documentation, or different web pages that I want to favorite. Versus collections or things that are like more groups of stuff that maybe I want to take action on or share with someone else.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
If I recall correctly, it's not yet live for Canary.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of active development.
Yeah. We will turn it on as soon as it's ready.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question that I've actually seen a few times, and it's something I actually had to go research because I didn't know much about it. Right. So for local functionality, such as the Estonian ID card support relating to accessing the web and things like that, is that something that's being looked into? Is it something that's future roadmap? Is it something that's it's just
I
something?
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not as up to speed on that side of things.
Okay.
There's one of the great things, one of the fun things about working on Edge is that there's a lot of stuff happening at once, and so as much as I want to be, I can't be an expert on everything.
No,
but I will. We can take a look on that.
No,
we can follow up on that.
It was a question that came up, and I wanted to ask it.
It's a great question, though.
But
I apologize, I
we'll
can't
have to
answer.
do some follow up on that. So, has share icon been mentioned yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Rich.
I love the fact that you knew who it was. Oh my goodness, that's great. And then so we are like kind of at time, but I'll ask one because it's kind of a good outro type question. Will this new Edge completely replace the old Edge? Will we have 3 browsers kind of side by side between new Edge, old Edge, and then Internet Explorer? Like, kind of what is the future of that landscape?
I think we talked about even the first announcement that this will be an update to the current in-market version of Edge.
Yeah.
We know nobody wants to have 3 web browsers from anyone on their computer, let alone the same company. And so we'll be sharing more details in the future, but you can. We know that 2 versions of Microsoft Edge would not be a great experience.
Yeah. And you did mention earlier, we talked briefly about it, of
Yeah.
how if you open a page that is designed only to render within legacy IE, Edge is now capable of...
Exactly. So
rendering
yeah,
the
so
page.
we Internet Explorer, it's already kind of hidden on Windows anyway. If you start if you start search for it, you can find it if you know where to go, where to look.
I explore.
Exactly. Yeah.
What?
But there are certain enterprise environments that rely on Internet Explorer, and so that's really critical for them to have. But so just like today, you already have IE and Edge. But the nice thing is with the IE mode in the new Microsoft Edge, you don't have to go to IE as often anymore, right? You only really have to use IE. Our goal is that you only have to use IE if you need the IE interface for some reason. But if you just want to go to a site that requires IE mode, IE compatibility, it all happens directly within Edge in the tab. It seems super seamless, so that you don't have to switch between browsers, because nobody wants that.
Yeah,
Nobody
absolutely.
wants to think, oh, and I gotta go out to this other browser. Yeah.
So we are at time. I did cover all the questions that I got in here. I know there's been a few more. I will go through the chat, kind of grab some of those. Sean, I will share them with you if you would like to go back and address some of them through the MS Edge Dev handle on
Is there
Twitter.
a FAQ on the Edge website?
There is. I don't think it's been updated since the Mac release. I could be wrong. But yeah, I know that kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
So there was a request to type in the Twitter handles for folks, right? I just dropped yours in there,
Sure.
William, which is Master DevWe. The Edge Dev team, which is at MS Edge Dev. There is I never remember the actual generic. So is it like
Microsoft Edge.
just
Candace and Sean are also on
At
Twitter.
Candace Poon.
That's Keydor.
Hold on. I'm going to type all these out. So bear with me as I'm flip-flopping between windows here. So
So I'll just say one last thing.
it's okay, I'm sorry, I have to ask. Is it CANDA or CANDI?
I.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I got it right. So that is Candace. And then there's at Microsoft Edge.
And while you're doing that, I just want to thank everyone again for not only for joining us, but for giving us all of the feedback, all the passion and excitement around the new Edge. It's been so wonderful to see. The whole team is really energized by it and excited. And we love that you're excited about the new Edge, and all of the feedback has been incredibly valuable so far. I can't tell you how many times we've looked at feedback and said, "Oh, let's add or change our plans because of it." So you guys really are helping us build the browser. And it's not just like a bucket that we're asking you to send feedback to, and then we're, we'll look at that occasionally. No, it's not that at all. It's very critical in helping us build.
Last one.
our
Sorry,
browser.
almost done. And Sean is at SKEE DORR, 2 R's.
Yeah.
There's other Sean too.
Right. And then Jen's MF's FT, and then I'm North Face Hiker.
My turn to ask you a question.
We're good.
When's the next webcast?
So
You just want to know.
So this is actually it's actually a good question. Yeah.
Let's have some cool with it.
So real quick, no, there's not a new build today. I know, disappointing news. I'll just throw that out there and kind of crash. I'm going to end the stream on a sad note. No new build today.
But there is a new Edge build today.
There is a new Edge build today.
Yeah, build.
So yeah, there's a new build. It just depends on which one you want. So I've already got something in the works for August for the webcast. The July webcast, this is maybe kind of sad news. It's late in the month. We will be at Inspire the middle week of July, which kind of puts a wrinkle in trying to plan out and get things organized in time. There may not be a July webcast. I don't know yet. I know that's kind of sad, bummer information. But as soon as I can figure out one way or the other if there will or will not be, I will give it a definitive answer. I'll share it on Twitter and the answers forum. I know Boo is correct. I totally agree. But yes, there's absolutely something up my sleeve for August. July is TBD, but as soon as I know, you will know. So I'll get that information out as quickly as I can. So we're over time, but I got to say, I found this fascinating. I obviously learned a few things, right, which is always fun for me. Hopefully the insiders out there have learned a few things as well between Legacy Edge that's available and then the Edge and Canary development versions. I got that right. Canary and
Dev.
Canary and Dev. Yeah, sorry.
Close enough.
So if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Let us know what you think. I gotta say, I've really enjoyed having you all here.
thanks for having us.
Thank you.
But it's been a pleasure. Obviously, there's ways for everybody to reach out and contact you now.
Yep.
So any questions, hit us all up. Happy to direct. And keep up the good work. And I would, hopefully I can have you back on a fourth time at some point in the future when you've got some more stuff.
It's always fun
come
being
and
on to
announce.
talk about Edge. So thanks for having us.
Again,
Fun.
thank you for your time. Thank you to all the insiders who have tuned in. Hopefully this was educational, informative. As always, thanks for being part of the program. Thank you for all the feedback. Keep sharing the good word, and any feedback, send it our way. And until next time, whether it's July or August, which you will know soon, stay awesome. We will talk soon.
Thanks.